Hi, my name's Paul Grogan and welcome to episode 46 of the Gaming Rules podcast. Now in this episode, I'm interviewing the guys from Polyhedron Collider. Well, it's less of an interview and more of about a chat of the games that we've been playing and also talking about UK Games Expo, which is coming up this week. This podcast is probably going out on Monday the 29th of May, and UK Games Expo starts at the end of this week, this coming weekend. So this is just a very short introduction before we dive into the actual podcast itself. As usual, thanks very much to GamesLaw, the sponsors of the podcast. They are the UK's largest specialist games retailer at gameslaw.com, and to Jason Shaw at audionautics.com for the music used in this podcast. On with the show. So I'm pleased to welcome to the show this week Andy and Stephen from Polyhedron Collider. Welcome to the show, guys.
Hello.
Morning.
Usual format, we're going to talk a little bit about the games that we've been playing, and then we're going to talk about the UK Games Expo, which we're currently recording this on Saturday 27th of May. This time next week, we will be at the UK Games Expo, probably not of having slept for 48 hours, and it'll be a complete disaster. And you guys will have empty wallets, no doubt, and... Yeah, UK Games Expo starts, well, for me it starts on the Thursday, but for the general public it starts on Friday the 2nd of June through to the Sunday the 4th of June. So yeah, we're going to talk about that later on. So, games that we've been playing. You guys go first. Pick one that you've been playing recently.
Well,
we played... Go on, Steve.
I was going to say, well, with one game we played against each other, a rematch as it were, we played Star Wars Rebellion.
Okay.
Oh, yes.
So this is the Star Wars game in a box. Basically, it's the entire Star Wars saga across one board game, but it's your version of the saga. So you have one player is the Empire, and their job is quite simply to find and destroy the Rebel base. And then the other side is the Rebellion, and what they've got to do is they've got to do missions which basically give them standing.
When you say saga, Steve, you mean, the good three, not the nonsense that we talk about.
Yeah.
Yes.
We're talking the original trilogy, episodes 4, 5 and 6.
Yes, we are indeed. Yes.
Right. The only Star Wars episodes.
Yeah. Although I did enjoy Rogue One. I watched Rogue One recently, and after the massive disappointment of episode 7... I thought Rogue One was fantastic.
You thought you didn't like Episode 7? Ooh.
Episode 7 was one of the most awful films I have ever seen.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. It was Episode 4 rebadged.
Wow, it was. It was Episode 4 again.
Yeah,
we
can talk about this at Expo rather than talking about taking it here. But yeah, I had to insert that in there.
See, we're dragging you down the rabbit hole. Steve and I are very familiar with this format.
So Star Wars Rebellion is based on the original 3 series of films, and you said what happens in the game covers all the way through from Star Wars through to episode 6.
It's not set, so it starts off where there is a hidden rebel base, and you are basically just trying to get to the point where either you've destroyed the rebels if you're the Empire, or if you are the Rebellion, you've basically got to defeat the Empire, which is you're basically finding ways to undermine the Empire. And so it's a bit of a race against the clock, because the way the scoring works is every time the rebels score points, their little token goes down the turn tracker. And if ever the turn tracker meets the Rebellion token, then the rebels have won.
Right.
God damn it.
Okay. I guess the rebels won last time you played.
Yes. Rebels have won both times we've played.
So are you always the Empire, Andy?
Well, of course. I am the Sith Lord of the group.
Oh, okay. So you played it.
The annoying thing is, it's always like one turn away from me winning. Steve just nips it every time.
Well, that's a sign of a good game, isn't it?
It is. It's incredibly well balanced, which is great, and it does smack of me making a few screw ups, but I'm sure Steve has made a few screw-ups as well, but again, because the game is so balanced, it's really tight all the time and very tense. And extremely infuriating too. Just because you think, I'm one planet away, God damn it, they're not there, where are they? Oh.
So this is the second game that you've played of it?
Yes.
Yes.
Is that right? Okay, now, first question, for me, I've not played it, but a couple of questions. So Star Wars Rebellion is, on Board Game Geek, the 5th highest ranked game of all time.
Wow.
I've heard lots of good things about it. Is that justified in your opinion?
It's very good.
It's very, very good. Yeah, I mean, and we're busting for a rematch as well. We both kind of played the game, went home, and within an hour of each other, we just messaged each other and go, so when are we playing this next?
Right.
Yep.
Which is also a good sign of a game.
It is very good. Now, the two negative things I've heard about it is the game is advertised as 2 to 4 players, but it doesn't really work with 4.
No, we've not tried it with 4.
You've not tried it.
I've looked at the rules, and we kind of decided we didn't want to try it with 4 because it takes a bit of splitting. Basically, what it does is you've got characters. It's a little bit like worker placement in a way. You're placing characters on missions or using your characters to move troops across the galaxy. But you've got admirals and you've got generals. So what happens in the 4-player is you split the admirals go to one player and the generals go to another.
Right.
So it means you've got to work together, but it also means that like the admiral is basically the only person who can really move troops around because it's it's their ships which move the armies across the table. Right. So I looked at it and kind of thought, I don't think this is going to work, but I've yet to try it out, to be fair.
No, I do get the impression that with the admirals, that as Steve says, they're basically controlling the movement. So the generals basically sat there, kind of almost like a sidekick, because they can turn around and say, "Well, I need to move my troops over there," but ultimately, the admiral can turn around and go, "Well, screw you! I'm moving my ships this way because I want to go that way, and you're at my mercy."
But they do win as a group, don't they?
Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
It's a team game, so there's still the same sides, and you are working together. But you're across the table from your opponents. There's no secret communication, so anything you discuss with your team player, the other team are going to know.
Right. Okay. So the other negative thing is the play length. Is that a problem?
No. Right. I mean, it's a long game.
It is a long game, but it's worth it.
Because it is a long game. I mean, the first time Steve and I played, it took us, 4 hours?
I think it was,
something like that. But the second time we played, it was a little quicker because obviously we knew what we were doing, although it took us a while to remember half of the mechanics. But at the same time, it doesn't drag. I mean, you play the game, and you're there for sort of 3 hours, and it disappears. So you're always engaged, you're always enjoying it, and at no point does it feel, oh God, we've been here all afternoon, it's horrible. It's more of a case of, oh my God, it's 5 o'clock, where the hell did the day go?
Yeah.
Right. That's good.
That was particularly when we last played it, because I had said to my wife that I'll be home by a certain time. I looked at the clock and went, oh crap, I needed to leave Andy's 15 minutes ago. Never mind, we're finishing this game. We're finishing. Yeah.
So, Star Wars Rebellion. I must get a chance to play this at some point. As I say, I've heard almost all positive things about it, and all very good.
Now, one thing I would say very quickly is it's a slight negative for Andy, because I know Andy's and your taste pool quite align rather well. It's a lot of dice in there.
Yeah.
It's a Fantasy Flight game. It's an Ameritrash style game. You know, the combat is based on dice. Whether you succeed on a mission is based on dice. So there is that element of randomness, which I think makes it actually really more fun, because as a Rebel player, it means that your missions become a little bit more, can I take down that Star Destroyer with my one single squadron of Y-Wings? Whereas the Imperial player, like Andy, meant the air turned blue on several occasions.
Right. Several occasions, I think permanently. It did get to a point where, I need to roll 3 dice, 1 success, and each success is, what, a 50% chance? If probably more than that?
Yeah.
3 zeros.
Yeah.
That's quite frustrating.
These things happen. Yeah,
yes, they do. But Steve's right. It does add an element of entertainment, of chance, of risk. And I don't think the dice element overwhelms the game in any way, because it is primarily strategy, which obviously you are completely in control of. It's really just simulating the randomness of Rebel incursions, Star Destroyers shooting down X-Wings and all that sort of stuff. So it is a good addition to the game.
It fits the theme, doesn't it? It really does fit that Star Wars theme, to be fair.
Yeah. Yes. Excellent. Right. So one game I've been playing a lot of in the last few weeks is Anachrony. Now I got a copy of Anachrony with the add-on pack with all of the big miniatures in, which look gorgeous. And I've played it now 4 times. One of those was a solo play this week. Guess how many times I've won the game, and guess how many times I've come in last position.
I'm going to 9 and 4.
No, I won against the AI player just, but in all my other games I have come dead last, absolutely last. And I'm thankful to say that 10 years ago that would have annoyed me. Now, I don't care at all. I literally don't. I'm enjoying playing the game. I'm enjoying the experience of the game. I'm not even really that frustrated. I'm more puzzled as to why I'm just not getting this. I know the rules. I mean, the first time I played it, and an hour later, I then sat down and taught another group how to play it, in its entirety without referring to the rulebook once. Now, that's not me being big-headed. That's just me saying that after my first play, I understood the rules enough that I was able to then teach the rules straight away to somebody else. So it's
Well, that's
not
the
a
sign
problem
of a good rulebook, sure.
Yeah, it's not a problem with the rules. It's just, some games suit your natural play style, and some games I'll play for the first time and win. And it just seemed to flow. And in this game, I just seem to be struggling to be able to do all the cool stuff that everybody else is doing. And I'm watching them and I'm saying, how did you get those workers over there? How did you get... And I'm not accusing them of cheating. I'm just going, I can't do that. I can't seem to do that. I've tried 3 different races and I can't get it right. But anyway, I want to play more, and I think I'm going to be playing it again on Monday. Really enjoying it.
So highly recommended them.
Yeah, for me, I like it. It's got a lot of the worker placement mechanics that we all know. It's got the cool time travel element. It's got a cool setting. It's got some extra little knobs and whistles. It's just, it's got a lot of stuff going on. It's very, very pretty. That, makes the enjoyment of playing the game a lot more. But there's definitely a lot of depth to the game, and the 4 different paths, which are like factions or races or whatever that you play, they do all play differently. And there's an A and a B side of each board, and the B side, which we've not even touched yet, changes the rules for that race entirely, and does lots and lots of cool stuff. Is
that in the standard edition, or is that just the Kickstarter version? The B side?
Standard edition.
Okay.
Yeah,
because
that's good. So there's a lot of replayability then, that's good.
And there's variant rules that we've not even touched on yet. There's a whole extra exploration board, which sounds really cool, but I'm like, I just want to get... And you know me, I'm always... Every single time I play, there's always at least one new person, which is why expansions for me don't normally get to see the light of day, because there's always somebody new. So it's very rare that I will get a game out and everybody's played it before and everybody wants to do the B-sides or play with the variant rules for the timeline or something. But yeah, I've been playing that a lot, and it's been good.
I've been keeping an eye on this, actually, because it's been tempting me, and I do think this might actually be one of my purchases at the UK Games Expo.
If you can find a copy.
I don't think there's any might about it, to be honest, Steve.
Well, apparently, the publisher, is it...
Mind Clash?
I was going to say Mind Clash. Apparently, they do have a stand there, so...
Well, I know David Turtzy, the designer, he's got a stand, and he's doing both Mind Clash... I think Cloud Island and Mega Clash have basically got to stand together.
Okay.
Because it's David who's going to be there representing both of them. So I just don't know whether there's going to be any anachronisms for sale.
So it could be just a demo stand then.
Right, back to you guys. Another game that you've been playing.
I was going to say Dark Souls, if you wanted to do that.
Yeah, mention Dark Souls. Because I've played that one, so I can comment on it.
Go on, Andy. I did Star Wars.
Yeah, another one we've been playing recently. Actually, I think this was just before we played Rebellion last weekend. Actually, was the big one of the moment was Dark Souls. Steve was itching for me to play this because he loves it, but he said that I would probably find it frustrating. So we gave it a go, and I can see his point. Although I didn't dislike it. But we had a good chat over the game, actually, because whilst there's a lot wrong with it, but it's still fun. Right.
Which is the ultimate point of playing a game, I guess.
Yes. Yeah. And this is the thing. We still wanted to plough on, and even I did, because, I mean, I'm very much a Euro fan like you, Paul. And there's a lot of either randomness and very frustrating, repetitive nature to the game. It is basically a grind fest. You know, you go through, you get your head kicked in, you start again, you go back in, you kill a few things, you pick up some souls, you then use those souls to buy weapons and upgrades and stuff. But one of the things that I think we both seem to agree on was that the random nature of how you acquire those bits of kit. You basically just draw them from a deck.
It was just random, yeah.
Yeah, there's a good chance that you could pick up a bunch of kit right at the start of the game that your characters just can't use because they're not good enough, and you need to upgrade your characters. So whilst it's nice to be able to aim towards something, there's a good chance that you might either just spend all your points trying to aim towards that bit of kit, and then the next time you pick up some kit, it's like, oh, I can already use that bit of kit.
Yeah.
So there's a bit of I might have wasted my time here.
So Dark Souls is a board game based on the very, very popular computer game series Dark Souls, which is basically a fantasy game where you're a guy and you go around and you hit things and you kill them, and when you kill them, they drop souls.
Yes.
And it's like experience points, sort of. You use those souls to
it's
buy
the one
stuff.
currency in the game, so you use souls to either buy equipment or to level up. Yeah. But the real thing about the video game is if you die at any point, well, which you're going to do a lot in the video game, because it's kind of the theme of the game, you drop those souls at the point where you died, and then you reset back to the last bonfire, which is the kind of reset point, and you have to fight your way back all through all those monsters to the point where you died to collect all the souls you've just dropped. Yep. So the idea of the game is it is a repetitive game where you learn the patterns of the monsters, and the idea is by doing a level several times, you'll have leveled up enough to be ready for the next section of the game. And it's a system that works well, frustratingly well at times, but it's a system that works well in the video game. I mean, I've played, I think, 3 of the games of the series now, because Demon's Souls and Bloodborne are also video games that work on a very, very similar principle. They're both made by the same software studio. As I said, we enjoyed the game, and I do actually enjoy Dark Souls a lot. I think I've played the board game like about 8 times now, which, considering it's only been out about 3 or 4 weeks, is considerable. And we even said on our own podcast, I've played this game solo. I don't play board games solo.
But you have done with this one.
But I've done solo games with this several times.
Okay.
But I think it is flawed. I will be the first to admit there are a lot of flaws in this game. And as you've mentioned, the treasure and the grind don't translate amazingly well into a board game.
No. So I played it. I had the chance to play it. A friend of mine, Andy, who does listen to this podcast, he's a big Dark Souls fan. In fact, almost every Friday when he comes around to play games, he's wearing his Dark Souls hoodie. So yeah, he's a big fan of the computer game. He got the game, so I wanted to try it. He came round. He taught us how to play. So he didn't play himself. He just taught us how to play, because there was three of us. And he said, it'd probably be best for 3 players. And he used a variant rule where you basically double the amount of souls that you get.
Okay.
Because it would be a shorter game. Something else changes, but basically, yeah, you double the amount of souls you get. So we had a lot less grind than is the base rules of the game. But overall, I enjoyed playing the game. I was happy he came around and he taught us, but it is certainly not a game I would ever really want to play again for all of the flaws that you mentioned. For a start, we set up the board, and it was basically a series of rooms that are all the same size and all the same shape, and they've just got squares on that you put monsters. There's no variety. There was no... Well, I say there was variety. Some of them, the monsters are in one space instead of another, and some of them might have an obstacle on a space. But it's just the same. Then you draw a card to tell you what monsters are in there. Okay. And then we cleared the first room without really any thought. It was, well, we just put things down there, and then I'll hit that. Right, that's dead. Done. What happens now? Oh, you restore back to full health after the first room. Oh, right. So that first room got us a few souls, but literally was a waste of time, because it was so easy. It was an automatic success. Next room, again, so easy, automatic success. Next room was a little bit trickier. And I think we died in that room because we made a bit of a mistake, and we died in it. And it was like, right, so you now go back to start and the entire game's reset. And we're like, oh, right. So what do we do now? Well, you can go back through those first rooms again. And I said, literally, can we just skip half an hour of time and just give us another 6 souls? Because I don't want to spend half an hour of my life doing something which is just an obvious outcome. But the game promotes you doing that, because if you do that, you'll get more souls, which means you can buy more equipment. So I wasn't keen on that part of it. The combat was just, you move your guy, you roll some dice. If you score a number of hits, they're killed. And I was like, seriously? The boss combat, though, was the best part. And that was the bit I was really looking forward to. Where the thing with the computer game, not that I've played it much, is that you learn the boss. You learn its sequence of moves. So you know, right, first of all, it's going to lash out with its left claw. Then it's going to do a tail whip. So I need to make sure I'm not behind it when it does that. And basically, as you play the game, you learn that sequence of moves and which are the weak spots of the enemy. And then you use that to your advantage. And the game simulates that combat. And I thought, great, I was looking forward to that. However, for us, we killed it before we actually got to do that. So we went through the first series of cards, and then I think when you've got the boss down to half health, it does something.
Yeah, it gets extra attacks, yeah.
Yeah, so
It
basically...
does a Zelda, yeah.
Yeah, we'd laid out a few of the cards. We hadn't gone through the sequence more than once before we got it down to half health. And then, once we got it down to half health, you shuffle the cards and you go out again. And again, we hadn't gone through the sequence again before we killed it. Now, we could have been playing on an easy setting, I'm not sure, but...
It sounds like you played a very easy setting, actually. The fact you said you basically walked through the first couple of rooms, because I've played it a few times now and decided that it's best either with either one player character or with four. And we had a thing where we went into a room, cleared it easily, went into the next room, and basically got killed as soon as we walked through the door.
Okay.
Yeah, our asses were definitely handed to us on a silver platter.
Well, when we set it up, there was, I think it was an easy room, another easy room, and then a medium room, or something like that. And the easy ones were just a walkover, and then the medium one caught us out, and we got killed. But then we did it the second time we were in. But for me, it was the fact that you restored back to full health and got all your stamina back as soon as every room finishes, that it was like, oh, so the only point of doing that was to get the souls. And as you say, the equipment deck, completely flawed. I mean, even Andy said afterwards, he said, this deck needs to be seeded. Yeah. I mean, it's, to quote a good friend of mine, FK from the No Pun Included show, when he did a review of a game where, and this game basically had just a randomly shuffled deck of cards, and at certain points in the game you'd get to draw a card and it'd be an action, and that deck wasn't seeded in any way, shape or form, and he said it's lazy game design, and he got a lot of criticism for saying that. But this is it. If you've got a whole bunch of equipment, and I'm assuming if you buy all the add-ons and expansions such, you get even more equipment, you just get this massive, massive pile of cards, but all you do is you just, oh, right, we get 4 treasures, right, turn over the top 4 cards, oh, well, they're all rubbish, or they're all super high-level stuff that we can't even think about getting at the moment.
Yeah, that's exactly it, Paul. I mean, Steve and I pulled out a bunch of stuff, like a load of crystals and things that you can use to enhance weapons. But I mean, most of those we couldn't touch because we couldn't use the weapons to start with.
Yeah, we got that.
That's most of the stuff we picked up is basically useless.
Yeah. So yeah, a seeded
and one of the things I didn't like was that whilst you can level your character up, the character levels and the extra sort of skills that you choose to spend your souls on have absolutely no bearing on any of the combat. They are purely there to permit you to use weapons. Now, I haven't played the computer game. That's probably the way the computer game works. But to me, it just seems a little binary almost. Either you can use something or you can't. Yeah. So what's the point of leveling something up if it has no bearing on, say, your combat ability or your speed or your movement or anything like that?
That was the thing. That was the thing I asked. I was like, right, I've increased my strength from 13 to 17. What does that do? Nothing. That does nothing at all. But it allows you to now wield a weapon that requires strength 17.
Yeah.
Right. And that weapon gives you the extra dice in combat. But I'm with you. You have these 4 stats that you're leveling up, but all they do is tell you what kind of equipment you can own. They don't have any effect on the game itself. So, yeah, I mean, when the game was announced, one thing that they put on their Kickstarter page was basically a video of them, what looked like them at a computer fair, a computer games exhibition, whatever, interviewing computer game players about the Dark Souls board game. With people going, oh, yeah, it'd be Dark Souls, yeah, it'd be great. And I'm like, no, I was massively successful and raised millions of pounds, but it's another one in the line of, let's make a board game version of a very, very well-known IP and hope it sells.
And it usually would.
Yeah, and the flip side, I've also heard that fans of the computer game, who are not necessarily elitist jerks like me and you, Andy, would actually...
I don't know what you mean, Paul.
I use the term connoisseur, but some people think I'm... Yeah, so, you know what I mean? With a more... You know, we'll go away and we'll sit down and we'll analyse and we'll talk about the game. We don't just sit there with a couple of beers and play it and go, was that fun? Yeah, that was fun. Let's play it again. We sit down and we think about the game and we think, was that really the kind of game I want to play? So if you're not a big board game player and you love the computer game, you'll probably like this a lot more. And for that target audience, it's probably great.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, one thing I remember reading on... Excuse me. I remember reading on the Facebook discussion group was actual Tom Vassel's review of Dark Souls, and this was ahead of me playing it.
Right.
And my biggest criticism was actually Tom Vassel's review itself, but just the way he approached it, and I was a little miffed that he'd not even sort of done any research into the computer game, but that's just me being pedantic.
Right.
But I find myself agreeing with him quite a lot, to be fair, that it's a nice translation of the computer game, but as a board game, I just don't think it works that well because it has all of these flaws, like we've discussed. Because it is just essentially it's like a level just one step above roll and move.
Yeah, I also had problems with the iconography and everything. It was like, what does that icon mean? Wait a minute, that looks almost identical to that one. And it's like a silver square on a black background. And I'm like,
there are a few misprints in it as well. I think there's, the boss characters, for instance, there's supposed to be a different symbol for mini bosses and main bosses, but the boss cards have all got the same symbol on. There was another misprint as well I spotted. I do feel that it might have been rushed out a little bit. There's a couple of things in there that make me think that because they've split it, the Kickstarter fulfillment as well, they've got the core box out and all the add-ons and stretch goals and expansions are not coming out till October.
Yeah.
Which is nice in that it gives you something, it spreads the game out a bit. But And I don't mind missing out on some of the extra monsters and characters at this point, but one of the things that really annoyed me was one of the stretch goals was scenery. So the little gravestones and barrels things and chests, they're going to actually have miniatures for them, but we're not going to get them for like another 4 to 6 months now.
Yeah.
It's like, they would have been really nice to have them now, because they
would.
I think they'd make a big difference. At the moment, you just got a couple of tokens. I think it does make the game look a little flat at the moment.
Yeah. Okay, so moving on to UK Games Expo. Now, UK Games Expo, for those people who don't know, is the UK's largest games convention, exhibition. Been going for 11 years now. It's held at the Birmingham NEC and Hilton, which is right next to the NEC. And it's big and it's fantastic, and we all go every year. There you go.
So
that's
exciting.
We do indeed.
It is quite exciting. Now, for those people who need a bit more information about it, UK Games Expo is a place where gamers of all types come together. So in the UK, we have board gaming conventions all around the country. Probably every weekend there is a little convention somewhere, which is 100 to 200 people meeting up in a hotel room playing games, and that's it. We have war games conventions, we have Salute, we have Colours, we have everything like that. Massive halls filled with hundreds and hundreds of war gamers and scenery and everything. We have role-playing conventions going on all the time. We have CCG games going on all the time everywhere. Very rarely do the groups mix. UK Games Expo is everything. You will walk around the exhibit halls, which are your standard exhibit halls with traders and people doing demos and everything else. There's massive areas for open gaming. There's tournaments going on, so there's X-Wing tournaments, there's card game tournaments going on, there's war gamers there, there's lots and lots of role-playing events there. You've got special guests there with seminars, all sorts of things going on. It's just everything. So everybody who's a gamer of whatever type in the UK should attend the UK Games Expo. That's basically the sales pitch. Now,
and that is an order. It's not a request. It's mandatory.
It's an order.
Go. Just
now,
go.
I work at UK Games Expo, so for me, I am no longer somebody who goes to it to see what's going on. I work for Czech Games Edition there, and I will be there Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, working 99% of the time. So as such, I won't get much chance to wander around, take part in all of the things that I've just mentioned, but you guys will be.
We will indeed.
So I know you've done your own podcast last week of everything you're looking forward to. So if people want to know more about what you're looking forward to, other than what we're going to speak to here today, look for the Polyhedron Collider podcast. But we're just going to talk about a few highlights that have come up from what you guys have been looking at. And some of these will be probably unknown to me. So off you go. Nothing. Brilliant.
Well, we could start. I mean,
is there too many?
Where do we begin? I mean, we had this dilemma when we did our own podcast. Where do we start? But I mean, one of the things that seems to be fairly popular across all of the media contributors is Pocket Mars.
Yes.
Yes.
Which is from
Board and Dice, one of my new clients.
Yes.
Ooh.
Now, we like Board and Dice, and it looks like they've had a very busy 12 months because they're showing off 3 games and an expansion this year. So, of all of the traders, I think it's definitely worth going to see them. They're lovely guys. They're very friendly, and we do get on with their games because we've played Beer Empire last year. We've played Multi-Universum, which they're releasing an expansion for, but they're also releasing Pocket Mars this year, which is sort of their newest game, which, as we've mentioned, Mars is the hot ticket at the moment.
It is.
Everyone seems to be doing a game about Mars, and this is a card game. So the clue's in the name, really. Card game, fits in your pocket, all about Mars.
And comes with potatoes, according to their PR department, I think.
Yes.
They're very active on social media, and I follow them, and every post seems to be about potatoes. So I don't quite know what's going on there, but is it buy the game, get a free potato?
Have you not seen the film The Martian?
I have.
Where he's growing potatoes on Mars?
I have, yeah. Okay, yeah, so that's the link.
That's the tenuous link, yeah.
But are they giving away potatoes with copies of the game? That's what I want to know.
I wouldn't be surprised if they do, to be fair.
And are they King Edwards? Yeah.
To be honest, Philip's unhinged enough to do that, I reckon.
Right. So that's caught your eye, and as you say, that's getting quite a few mentions on various things. Now, before we go any further, there's a couple of things that I did want to mention. Tom Heath, who's been a former co-host on the show, he's put together a geek list in a similar way that Eric Martin does for the big conventions like Gen Con and Essen. There isn't one for UK Games Expo. So Tom Heath has done one. I will put a link to it in the show notes, so you can go there, and it is a complete list of every game which is available for demo at UK Games Expo. And the other one is a friend of mine, Peter. He does the Tabletop Together thing, and he's done a tool which you can go on and you can basically log using this website tool of what games you're most looking forward to. And yeah, that's been getting a lot of use. Again, I'll put a link to that in the show notes. But the reason I'm mentioning that is that Pocket Mars is definitely high on that list, from what I remember. He posted an update this morning, and I can't remember what it was, but I'm pretty sure Pocket Mars has been on that list for a while. So definitely one. There we go. Second, number 2 on the top 10 games that people are looking forward to, according to Tabletop Together's UK Games Expo tool. So, pick another one that you're interested in.
I'm quite intrigued by Carcosa. And
not heard of it.
Yeah, this is just hit Kickstarter. They're doing that thing that a lot of companies do, in that they're going to have a demo at the expo while the Kickstarter's running. So you can go try out the game, and then if you like it, you can go back it that weekend. Right. So this is an odd combination, because we mentioned on our podcast, I'm a bit of a Call of Cthulhu Lovecraft nut. So this is...
Really? I didn't know that. That's news to me, Steve.
So this is kind of a cross between Carcassonne and H.P. Lovecraft's work.
Okay.
So I'm going to admit, I'm not quite entirely sure how this works. I've had a look at the Kickstarter page, and I'm still none the wiser.
Right.
Which
That's
is
not a good sign.
Slight criticism of the Kickstarter page. But they're going to have demos. This is one Free Elephant Games who also did Awesome. They're going to have Awesome there as well on their stand.
Okay.
And I'm really intrigued because the artwork they've shown so far is really, really lovely. There's an aspect of Carcassonne, say, tile laying, but the tiles are actually double-sided, so tiles get flipped over as you play. And the general gist of the game is you are trying to either bring the lost city of Carcosa into our dimension, or you're trying to raise the king in yellow. Okay. And best cultist wins, basically. But I'm really intrigued by it because it looks very nice. It looks different as well. If they've managed to actually make this Cthulhu-esque theme go into a game like Carcassonne, I'll be very impressed. So I'm waiting to see more of that.
So at the moment you don't know the rules of the game. The Kickstarter page isn't very informative, and you're keen on it because of the theme. And it might be great, or it might just be Carcassonne with a Cthulhu theme pasted on. We don't know yet.
We don't know yet.
Okay.
I don't want to go in there knowing too much either. That's the kind of beauty of the expo. You want to go in kind of like, what's going to excite me? And although I've been poring over these lists, and we've done our own podcast about this, I've not gone into and looked, and read the rules for every single game and gone, oh, well, this is this and this is this. I've just kind of gone, well, okay, this is the basic gist. I'm going to go in and find out a bit more.
Right.
And that's the magic, I suppose, because you don't want to go in knowing everything and either be A, disappointed, or B, I'm not going to touch that with a barge pole because I think I already know the rules.
Right.
It's nice to sit down and play and just go and make your own mind up, basically.
That's true. I mean, a lot of people who do so much research before Expo, they know exactly what they're going to look for, and then don't look at anything else, might miss something. Because although there are these lists, which are all great... in the Tabletop Together tool, that doesn't mean you should just go to Expo and look for the top 10 things on that list. Some companies are better at doing PR and marketing than others, and therefore their games will have more attention than others. But there might be a game which is number 11 on that list, which would have been your favourite game at Expo. So yeah, definitely go with an open mind.
And there'll always be a surprise which isn't on these lists. Something which it hasn't gone to the press previews. It hasn't gone to on Twitter or Facebook. You'll go there and you go, oh, wow, okay, this has got my attention, and that's what we're really looking forward to seeing. What are those little surprises?
Yeah. Okay. Absolutely, so what we're going to do here is we're going to listen now to a short audio clip from Tom Heath, who's giving us his top games that he's looking forward to.
Hi everyone, I'm Tom Heath, who does that Slicker Drips thing, and the things I'm most excited about for the UK Games Expo are all demos. It's Pulsar from CGE, which is a spacey dice drafty thing from Vladimir Suchy, a Nice Cup of Tea from Surprise Stare Games, which is a big spin-off from Snowdonia, looks amazing, and the Network's Executives from Formal Ferret Games, which will add a ton of new ways to make really good TV stations with cards and things. I'm very aware that this is 30 seconds now.
Right, okay, so that's Tom's clip. So 3 choices. Pulsar, which is a game which I know about because I'm working on it. It's currently called Pulsar 2849. The game is not final. The game name is not final. Nice Cup of Tea and the Network's Executives. So, what do you guys think about those 3? Have you heard of those?
So, is Pulsar a change of name? Have you pulled the rug from under us, Paul? Because I think in our podcast we called this something else.
You probably did. You probably called it Pleiades.
That's the one.
Yes. Which was, you know, when Microsoft release a new operating system and they have a working title for the game, for the product,
like Longhorn for WinXP.
Yeah. But it's never ever going to be called that. Pleiades was that, and I think from a marketing point of view, I think we dropped the ball a bit, and we were calling it that in a bit too many places. And even though we always said it's a working title, it wasn't even a working title. It was our working code name for it, but it was never going to be called that.
That sparked a science lesson in our podcast. I think you should go back to it.
Nobody can spell it, that's the problem.
Well, there is that, yeah.
I couldn't pronounce it either.
Yeah, exactly. So that was never going to be the name. So, yeah, CG don't always get the name of the games early on, which is a bit of a problem when you've got lots of people doing podcasts saying what it's going to be called. I was voting to call it Paul in Space, but they weren't keen on that idea. The other option was just call it Untitled Space Game, because then at least everybody knows that that's not going to be the final title.
You could call it Grogan's Run.
Reference to 70s science fiction films. Yes, definitely. We could have done. Anyway, so yes, that was the thing you referred to in your podcast as Pleiades, which at the moment is called Pulsar 2849, and that's the name which is on the box of the prototype, which we'll be showing at UK Games Expo. And it's a Euro game.
That definitely has a 70s scientific theme to it, actually. Just because of the name.
Yeah.
What's his chops? Buck Rogers.
Buck Rogers in the 25th century.
That's it. As long as you put in a century name or a year name in it, it's definitely 70s sci-fi.
Well, the number 2849 is a reference to something, and I'm not going to say what.
Ooh, mystery.
Is it the number of playthroughs it's had?
No, I'm not going to say anything. At the moment, it's... as I say, this is not the final title. We've put that number in there. There's a reason why that number is in there, but we haven't said why that number's in there.
Is it a number of spelling mistakes in your first draft of the rulebook?
Yeah, could be. Could be number of missing Oxford commas,
or the RRP.
Yeah, no. It is a reference to something. So anyway, it's a Euro game from Vladimir Suchy, the designer of Last World, Prodigals Club, League of Six, Shipyard. He's known for doing his Euro games, and this is one of them. And we played it last night. Well, 4 people played it. I taught them how to play. We'll be playing it again on Monday. So yeah, that's one of CGE's new games that they've got coming out this year. Nice Cup of Tea. Do you guys know anything about that?
I know nothing about this, and actually, I've tried to. While we've been online, I've tried to look this up on Board Game Geek and can't find it. So I am none the wiser.
You have to educate us.
Should be there. So this was originally a few years ago, if I remember correctly, an expansion for Snowdonia.
Oh,
but it's actually blown up into its own full game, which Tony's been working on for quite a while. So yeah, I mean, I don't know how it compares to Snowdonia, because if it originally started off as an expansion for Snowdonia, I'm assuming that this final game shares some similarities with Snowdonia. So if you're interested, if you like Snowdonia, then definitely go and check this out. And the Networks executives, it's interesting that Tom's chosen a expansion set.
That hasn't caught my eye because I know you, Steve, had a look at the Networks Expo last year.
Yeah, I picked it up last year, yeah. And
yeah, because I know it sounded interesting before we played it. And you went through it and you were...
I was a bit disappointed.
Lukewarm.
Yeah, I was a bit disappointed by it. The concepts are really good. The jokes are in it, like all the little TV programs.
Yeah.
Just...
What's that stain?
Yeah.
I felt it was just a bit slow because most of the game is just you in this kind of pool of items that you're trying to draft in as quickly before anyone else drafts them. I just felt the actual mechanics of the game were just a little bit boring.
Okay. When you said slow, did you mean that the game played slow?
Yeah, I mean, I think we played a 4-player game and it took... It's the kind of... Let me kind of start again. It's the kind of game which I think should take about an hour. And I think
it takes us about an hour for 4 players.
Yeah, we played.
That's why I was confused why it was slow.
It took us about 2 hours to play a 4-player game.
That's twice as long as it should be. Yeah,
but I don't think that wasn't any problems with that was like the first game when we learnt the rules, but the rules for that game are so straightforward. But then again, this is the group of players who played New Angeles, which should take 3 hours, and it took them 12. So.
Oh right. Okay. So yeah, Networks Executives is an expansion set for the Networks, which, as you say, was released last year from Formal Ferret Games. So shall we listen to somebody else? Let's listen to Matt Evans from Creaking Shelves, see what he has to say.
Hello, it's Matt from Creaking Shelves here. Paul has very kindly invited me back to share with you 3 games available at the UK Games Expo that you may not have heard about, but that I think might be very interesting. The first is Frog Riders, a colourful plastic mess that is a family game first, but sounds like it has plenty of clever decisions just below the surface. It's also from the designers of 2 of my favourite games from last year, 13 Days and Flamme Rouge. The second is Wordsy, a game about creating words whose title isn't even a real word, but the important thing is how it encourages you to come up with answers quickly, but not so quickly that your opponents can come up with something better 30 seconds later. The final game I wanted to mention is Super Hot by Name and Nature. A first-person shooter card game could never work, right? I mean, where's the Twitch responses, the reactions? Well, here time only advances when you move, making it potentially perfect for more thoughtful strategic play. It also shares some of its deck-building mechanics with the excellent solo game Friday, and this combination of theme and mechanics has me very, very intrigued.
Right, has anybody heard of Frog Riders before?
No.
Neither have I. Let's look it up quickly.
I did have a quick look at it, though.
Okay.
I've seen it, and it's... I wasn't really sure what to expect. It says it's kind of a family-friendly game, but it's this fairly large board with, things riding frogs. So there's this huge sort of circular area which got lots and lots of... I think it's hexes in it. Mm-hmm. And you've got a little sort of miniature in each one. But beyond that, I didn't really get what was going on.
It definitely looks like a family game from the pictures, with cute coloured plastic frogs. But Matt says in his audio clip he thinks that there's something a bit more in there, and it's from the designer of 13 Days. Now, I've not played 13 Days yet. It's on my list to play, but this looks, from what I do know about 13 Days, which is a shorter, lighter version of sort of Twilight Struggle-ish, maybe, this looks completely different. This looks like a sort of, maybe even a kid's game, or certainly a family game with cute plastic frogs. So, we shall see. Matt will go and check it out, and then we can find out from him what it's like. Now, the other one that he's mentioned, Wordsy, is another game from Formal Ferret Games. Gil's going to be happy with mentions of 2 of his games in this podcast. Have either of you played Wordsy or know anything about it?
I followed on from, because I'm on Gil's mailing list, so he's mentioned it in his regular updates. But yeah, I'm quite intrigued by this one.
No, I mean, it's not the sort of game I would go for, to be honest. I mean, I quite enjoy Codenames and sort of linking words together, but I don't know. Hearing Matt's description of it's not something that I would usually go for. I mean, I'll have a look at it. Obviously, we can't judge books by covers, but as it stands, I wouldn't say it's something that I would instantly go for, really.
Right. And the next one is another one from Board and Dice, Super Hot.
Oh, we like this one.
Yes, we played this one.
I worked on the rulebook for this one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they contacted me a few weeks ago and said, Paul, we've heard you do rulebook editing. We'd like you to take a final look at this just before it goes to print, see what it's like. So I ended up doing some work on the super hot game. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. This is very popular, this one. Another very, very anticipated game. I don't know whether that's just because it's based on a very popular computer game, or it's just different.
No, it is quite clever. I've played this one. We got
played it?
Yeah, we got sent an early prototype version of this game. So
Right.
I've played it. Now the version that's going to be on sale, I believe, is a multiplayer, but the demo version, because what Modern Dice do is the versions they send out to people are generally stripped down demo versions,
Right.
just to keep the costs down and get a general idea of the game. So this is a solo version of the game we got sent,
Right.
and what it is it's like it's kind of a deck builder. So you have a row of cards which are your threat that are in front of you, and you have to try and neutralise that threat. So it could be people with guns, bullets heading towards you. But it's as you move cards from this central row, they move into another pile, which then go into your hand, and it's all about managing when cards come up when. What the game does is it gives you a ladder of missions. You start off with one mission. Once you've done that, it gives you 2. Once you've done that, it gives you 3. And you're constantly manipulating the cards and the decks in the row in your hand to try and meet that mission and not get shot to death.
Right.
Generally what tends to happen is you manipulate the deck to do one of those mission objectives and then find that you can't do one of the other mission objectives that comes up randomly afterwards.
Oh, okay.
So you're like, oh no, right, okay, I now need to move cards around and do this. It's really clever design, actually, and again, I'm not usually a solo player game, but I did play this quite a lot when we got sent it. So
I remember from working on the rulebook that there is solo rules in there and multiplayer rules in there. I have a vague memory of there being competitive and cooperative rules in the book. So, I think it's been a few weeks since I did the rulebook, but yeah. So,
so they're covering all the bases then?
I think so. Now, have you played the computer game, Steve?
Yes. I played
does it?
Right. It makes a good comparison to Dark Souls, actually, because with Dark Souls they've tried to completely replicate the video game in board game form. Here they've taken the concepts and abstracted it into a board game, and what they've done is they've made a really good board game that feels like the video game.
Right.
Rather than trying to make a carbon copy of the video game in cardboard form. And I think what they've done is it does feel like that. It is that manipulating the environment and making sure you're in the right place at the right time. So making sure your cards are in the right place at the right time works really well. But it's definitely not like a carbon copy of the video game.
Right. Okay.
So that sounds like the better way to go.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Definitely, yes.
Yeah. So this is on your list to check out then?
Yes. Well, in fact, I've backed the Kickstarter, so I'm going to pick up my full copy of this. So,
you're picking up your copy there?
Yeah.
Excellent. Right, fantastic.
I'd like to get a game of it when I'm there, because, I mean, Steve's been very positive about it. So I've not even played the computer game either, so I've seen sort of screenshots, but I'm going in pretty cold, but both the game and the board game have both received very positive reviews, so definitely something I'd be interested in. I mean, card games aren't my usual fare either, so I'm trying to change my mindset at the moment. Yeah,
I mean, it's difficult for me sometimes when I'm writing and editing a rulebook to get a feel of how the game would play. But I came away from working on the rulebook that it seems clever. It seems when you're playing it, you've actually got a sort of puzzle, and you've got to think, right, I need to hit that guy there who's got that shotgun, but then I need to put this here so that that's there at just the right time so that I do that. Is that a fair assumption, Steve? From you playing it? Right. Okay. So yeah, I'm keen to give it a try.
It's a puzzle.
So one more. It's a puzzle. One more person we're going to hear from is Michael from Two Can Play That Game. Let's see what he has to say about what he's looking forward to.
Hi, this is Michael from Two Can Play That Game, and a couple of games I'm most looking forward to trying at UK Games Expo are Alien Artifacts by Portal Games. I really like the idea of a 4X game fitting into under an hour. Dice Hospital by Alleycat Games. I'm a big fan of Waggle Dance by Mike Dunt, so I'm really excited to see what he's doing with this. Then also from Board and Dice, there's going to be Pocket Mars with multi-use cards that I'm a big fan of. I really enjoyed their last game, Multi-Universum, as well. It's going to be a great weekend, and I just really hope to see you all there.
Right, so Alien Artifacts from Portal Games. They've been teasing this one for a while. They even had the box with the finished front cover and the finished name of the game at Essen last year in a display cabinet.
That is prepared, wow.
They do things, they do that. They get the name of the game and the box cover and they put it out there. They even had some components. The game hadn't even been finished being designed at that point, and they've been working on it constantly. So I don't actually know whether the game is finished or not yet. I think it might be, but it's available for demo at the Portal Games booth, which is right opposite the CGE booth. And I've been hearing a lot of good things about this one, not just recently, but actually for the last 6 months from various people that I know that have been going to other events and have been playing it. So yeah, 4X card game that plays in under an hour.
Ah, yes, we talked about this, didn't we,
Yeah,
Steve?
we did, yeah.
Yeah, this is the one that sounds like Eclipse the card game.
So yeah, time will tell as to that one. Next one, Dice Hospital.
I'm really keen on seeing this.
Oh, you're right. Okay.
Yeah, it caught my eye a couple of weeks ago. Actually, I mean, one of the members of the Facebook board game group, the UK one, and actually post on the American one as well. Cesar has been asking for feedback on the box art. Actually, was one of the main questions. Mm-hmm. So I thought, oh, okay, that sounds interesting. So gave him some feedback, and I sort of caught my eye and thought that reminds me of something, and it reminds me of Theme Hospital.
Yes.
From the 90s.
Yeah, I remember that.
And I gave him that feedback, and he said that's brilliant because he really enjoyed Theme Hospital. So I suspect there is more than a bit of inspiration taken from Bullfrog's game back then.
Yeah.
And I really enjoyed Theme Hospital, and I like the idea of Dice Hospital. It's a dice placement, worker placement sort of idea.
Yep.
With obviously set in a hospital, you get specialists and so on and so forth. So it's piqued my interest quite considerably. So I'm definitely going to be having a look at that.
Yeah. So that's available for demo at the event?
Yes, I believe so. I don't imagine the game's finished yet.
Cesar will be taking us to Kickstarter later, I think. Right.
Okay. Yeah, because I worked on one of his rule books earlier this year, so he might be asking me to get involved in this one. I don't know. Who knows? And Michael's last one is one we've already talked about, Pocket Mars. So he's obviously after some free potatoes. So
just sling him a bag of Walker's cheese and onion, that'll be fine.
Anything else you guys want to talk about that you know of that's coming out that's hot?
I'm very intrigued, and this is, you mentioned we've talked a lot about board games. This is kind of one of the other quadrants of gaming that's going to be there. I'm very intrigued to see what Games Workshop are going to be bringing with regard to Warhammer 40,000 8th edition. Because this is the first time Games Workshop are going to be at the UK Games Expo. They've usually shunned other expos and conventions, and this is the first time they're going to be coming to another convention in force, and it's just before the release of their brand spanking new version of their premier game, their main ticket. So it's going to be intriguing. We don't know what they're bringing. We know the game won't be out to buy by then because they've announced the release date is 17th of June. But I'm hoping there's going to be some demos or something. I know they're doing a seminar where they're going to go through what they did in the rules development.
Right.
Which is very interesting.
Are you going to go to that?
I'd like to, but probably not because there's so much to see at the expo.
Yeah.
I generally don't get a chance to go to the seminars, mainly because we are there as media people, so we are trying to catch as much stuff as we can to write about as well.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
Probably, unfortunately, I don't think I'll be able to catch that, but I'm really intrigued to see what they've got on their stand and hopefully get a game of it in.
I mean, it might be that they're just there with lots and lots of painted miniatures, and we just look at them.
It could be.
Ooh, that's fine. That's fine. Look at the shiny. Look at the shiny.
Every time I walk past Games Workshop and I see all the gorgeous painted minis, I'm like, oh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
I can't paint that good. Yeah. But I'm hoping they have more than that. I'm hoping they do actually have a game and you guys can get to play it because I want to know what you think about it. I talked about this new Games Workshop on my podcast a couple of episodes ago because I grew up with Games Workshop and then spent the last 25 years with them where they were in the market, and now what they've done is a complete 180-degree U-turn. I'm not saying I'm going to go out and spend 300 quid on Warhammer 40k and start playing it every week, but I am genuinely interested myself and curious as to what they've done.
I don't think I've played 40k in about 4 or 5 years.
It's about 30 for me.
Yeah.
About 20 for me, yeah.
But you're right, they've done a complete U-turn. They've gone from being this really insular, you will pay £100 and because it's awesome approach to being really open.
Engage with the community, we won't do any of this. Yeah, complete change.
Change. They've got Facebook groups, they've got YouTube video channels now giving you painting tips.
Yeah,
and the fact that they're even doing a seminar about how they develop the rules is it's mind-boggling compared to where they were in the past.
That's why I'm hoping somebody goes along or films it or something, just because I'm curious from a professional point of view as to as to what they're doing. So, yeah.
It'd be interesting to see what they're doing sort of post-divorce, as it were.
Well, I think it's clear.
I can't help but think that their approach now may have been influenced partly by that.
Or they were going to take this approach and realise they couldn't do it without Fantasy Flight. We don't know. But,
yeah.
I mean, they just announced this week that the Heroes of Normandy system...
Yes.
They're doing a Warhammer 40k game based on that system. So that's a co-production thing. And also announced this week, Cubicle 7... are redoing the Warhammer Fantasy role-playing game.
Ooh.
So, yeah, so if you want to know what Games Workshop are doing since they took the license back, a lot. They're doing a lot of their own stuff, and they're also partnering up with some other people to do lots and lots of other stuff. So, yeah, Games Workshop are back. So, Andy, what about you? Another thing that you're looking forward to in particular?
Yeah, actually, I completely omitted it from our own podcast, actually. So I'm going to put it in here as an act of penance.
Right.
Is a game called Everdark from Walrus Games. Ed was at Expo last year demoing it there. It got a lot of attention. It's almost like an Incan style of game. So it's this sort of rotating pyramid affair that everyone basically looked at and thought, wow, that looks brilliant.
Okay.
It took my fancy then. I've actually been working with Ed over the last 12 months, on and off, just to give him a bit of feedback, and he's been asking me some questions about maybe different approaches and stuff. And he brought it to Aircon, which it's undergone quite a few changes since then, for the better. And even then, he took feedback then from me and a couple of other people as well. He's bringing it to Expo this year as a almost finished demo, basically. He's hoping to kickstart it either just after or just before the Expo. And he's promised me a demo copy of it anyway. So, excellent. But it'll be on demo there. I think he's got his own stand, but I may be wrong.
Okay.
But it's definitely worth a look. You can't miss it. It's so different from everything else that, and it is a fun game. It's semi-cooperative. You can influence the board to either help or hinder your opponents. And it sounds and it plays really well. So I'll be very interested to see what he's done with it over the last 12 months.
Okay, and finally, just some plugs for some of the things I've been working on. So Tristan Hall from Hall or Nothing Productions, he's got his new game, which is 1066 Tears to Many Mothers, which he had at Aircon, and some people have played it there. It's a 2-player card game set around the Battle of Hastings. That's going live on Kickstarter, I think, Thursday. So I've done the Kickstarter preview video for it, which isn't live yet. I'll be making that video live on Wednesday night before I pack my bags and leave on the Thursday morning very early. So that's... but he will have a stand at Expo where he will be doing demos of the game. And that's another one where, as you say, he's timed the Kickstarter launch into the start of Expo. So basically you can go there, you can see the game, and if you like it, you can go back to your hotel room and then... you can back it on Kickstarter. And of course the CGE stuff that I'm going to be doing. So I've just released an unboxing video, which I made live yesterday, which was basically a box of prototypes that CGE have sent me, which are the games that I'm going to be showing off at UK Games Expo. So I've never done an unboxing video before, and that was me unboxing a box of prototypes. So that's the Pulsar game that we mentioned earlier, Codenames Duet, which I think is going to get a lot of attention over the weekend because Codenames is a fairly popular game. We've got Vlager's That's a Question game, which I don't know, did you guys play this at Aircon?
No, we didn't. We didn't get a chance, no.
You didn't? Right. So I'll have that.
Is this the one you said was going to be quite controversial?
Not controversial, but whereas Codenames, almost everybody loves it, apart from that one guy that we don't speak to anymore. That's a Question. That's a Question is a game which I have run for groups and they've absolutely loved it, and then I've run it for another group and none of them liked it at all. So
quite divisive.
It's a very divisive game. For the right group at the right time, it's a great game and a great experience. But as I say, I've demoed it to some people and they went, "What is this? This isn't there." I don't know whether they went into it expecting another Codenames or something like that. It's definitely worth a try. I would recommend it initially with people that you know, because I think it probably works better as a game. But as I mentioned in my unboxing video, I've run it when I ran a game at Aircon with 4 or 5 people that didn't know each other, and they loved it. And they used it as a as a get to know you kind of game, which was interesting. But I think initially, because what the idea of the game is that you're supposed to give somebody a difficult question. So if you've got a question of which would you prefer, and one of them is like barbecue chicken wings and the other one is like comfortable slippers, and you give them to a friend of yours who's a vegetarian, for example, well, you wouldn't give him that question. Because it's an obvious answer.
Okay.
The idea of the game is that you're supposed to look at the various answers that you've got and come up with something which, for somebody, is going to be a difficult question for them to answer. And then people...
It almost sounds like the opposite, or sort of the reverse of Cards Against Humanity in a weird kind of way.
Yeah, something sort of maybe... But I don't want to compare it to Cards Against Humanity for obvious reasons. But yeah, I definitely play it because it takes about 15-20 minutes. You might have a laugh, and as I say, with the right group of people, I think it's definitely interesting. We've got a new Tashkalara expansion. We've got some Through the Ages card to show off. We've got the Adrenaline expansion to show off. So
I was going to ask you about that. Yeah.
Yes, I mean you got a chance to play it at Aircon. The bulk of it is still the same. It's had a few tweaks, but it's not a completely different game from what you played at Aircon. So, we're going to be doing some demos of that over the weekend as well. And there we go. That's it. So we've gone on a little bit longer than I originally planned, but it's been good.
You did well, Paul. You've not fallen down any of our customary rabbit holes.
Yeah, I was warned in advance about that.
Sidestepped a couple of them quite expertly.
As I say, we've got a few conversations that we can have about Rogue One and other things at UK Games Expo. So if you want to see a live discussion between us at UK Games Expo about the quality of the Star Wars movies, then come along, find the group of people shouting very loudly in the corner, and I'll be the one wearing a couple of Danish pastries on my ears and a white robe.
And I'll have a silly hat.
Yes. Right. Excellent. So that's it. This podcast is going to be edited this weekend. I'm going to put it live probably sometime Sunday or Monday for people to be able to listen to who are going to Expo, so that they can, know a bit more about what's going on there.
Brilliant.
Cool. Anything else you guys want to add?
I think so.
Bit of a plug for your own stuff?
Oh, I suppose we should, really, shouldn't
Better
we?
add.
Go on then. You're the gaffer.
So yeah, we've already done our own podcast, which we've mentioned as well. So we a lot longer and a lot flabbier, I think, is our podcast compared to this, well edited and highlights. We tried to cover as many games as we possibly could, which means we still missed out Everdark and Gleam of Kilforth and Bug Off and about half a dozen other ones. But me and Andy have done one recently. We are going to be trying to record some stuff at the Expo as well, and we'll be doing a post-Expo kind of debriefing. So we did that last year. It was quite popular, it was a really quick rundown of everything we'd seen at the Expo, what caught our eye, what we didn't like, what we really liked. And so we'll be releasing that, I would have thought, towards a week after the Expo. Yeah. But if you go to polyhedroncollider.com, go to podcasts, the top one there is our Expo preview. We try and cover as much as we can.
Yeah, and I'll put a link to that in the show notes of this on YouTube as well.
Well, thank you very much.
So, I will see you guys on the Friday.
You will indeed.
We will be at the press preview.
Yeah, so I shall see you there. Thanks very much for coming on the show, and I'll talk to you soon.
And thank you for having us.
Thanks for having us, Paul.
Okay, so I hope you found this podcast useful in learning a little bit more about some of the games that are coming out at UK Games Expo. As I say, there is the Tabletop Together tool where you can rate the games that you're looking forward to the most. And there is Tom Heath's Geek List, which I will link in the show notes below, which has got a full list of everything that's coming out. Now, there is one more thing to do before the end of this podcast, and that is to choose the winner of the competition from podcast 44, which was to win a copy of Martin Wallace's A Handful of Stars. Thanks to all the people who entered, and I've done a random number generator system, and the winner is Tom Like a Bomb, who has said that his favourite Martin Wallace game is A Study in Emerald First Edition. So, well done, Tom. I will be somehow getting you a message to say that you've won a copy of A Handful of Stars from Games Law. I hope you enjoy the game. Let me know what you think about it. And until next time, take care and thanks for listening.